In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers.
Jeez.
We will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a
The
video
American
of
people should
members
know
of
the facts.
Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
Oh, man.
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
So if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Absolutely, I did not body slam anyone. We were simply there to do our job, therefore oversight visit. Wow. I mean, I honestly do not know how to body slam anyone.
I doubt it.
You are fake news.
It's not against the law, ho. Fuck you.
Very fake news.
I can't believe that someone would have so much hate in their heart.
Get out of my face, you f***ing
That's disgusting.
Shut up, faggot.
All right, America, go to the YouTube right now.
Skag free, whoever he is.
Dude, Matt straight up sucks.
How dare you?
All right, go.
In 5, 4, 3.
I can't do it. We'll do it live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Sunday, May 11th, 2025. Thank you for tuning in and happy Mother's Day. Sitting shotgun tonight is our friend Matt Palumbo from BonginoReport.com. Welcome back.
Always good to be back, and I'm not going to see you tonight.
Wait, what?
I can't see you on my screen. Is that just my screen?
Hold on.
Ah, there we go.
A proud duct tape production indeed.
I thought that was the joke.
Our whole pre-live discussion, you couldn't see me?
I assumed, I don't know, there was something you were going to reveal to the audience I couldn't
No.
see.
That was just me being an idiot. That was the duct tape production in action. Never be afraid to call it out. Anyway, good to be back. The Matt and Matt show is on tonight. Great guest later, Liberty Doll is back for about a half hour. We'll talk about the case of the ATF railroading a Navy sailor and imprisoning him for gun-related air quotes violations. Some other items as well. Otherwise, in the news tonight, announced just this afternoon, the U.S. and China have reached some kind of agreement to reduce the trade deficit between the two countries. I say that ambiguously because it's ambiguous. Details pending. Supposedly coming tomorrow, but probably good news. So we'll get into that. Congressional Democrats in Newark, New Jersey, and the mayor of that city, they show up at the new ICE facility unannounced. This reminds me of the Education Department episode a few weeks or months ago with Maxine Waters. Let us in. You can't stop us. And that stone-faced security man.
That was great.
They did something like that. They go to this new ICE facility. They demand to be let in. Somehow things get violent. And now a congresswoman is accused of body slamming an ICE agent. DHS is saying they might seek criminal charges. They also say they have video of this body slamming. And I am begging you, please release it. There's some body cam out there, not the body slamming. Haven't seen it yet. Later in the show, a bunch of odds and ends. The new Pope, of course, the latest in the Shiloh Hendrix N-word mom case. Joe Biden has returned from the dead, made an appearance on The View this week. And of course, Hoax hate as well. Plus, we'll take your super chats midway through the show and before we're out of here. Speaking of, hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show. You can do that one time or recurring for as little as a buck a month over on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Support for the show not only helps me sustain, but it helps me pay the people who make the show possible as well. There are perks available for your support too. And don't forget, there are lots of new graphics available in the merch store, t-shirts, mugs, and more. Likewise, merch sales help not only my operation, but they support the designers who made these graphics, all of whom are listeners of this stream. MattChristiansenMedia.com/shop. Find both links right there on the homepage of my website, MattChristiansenMedia.com, or mattis.gay, if you can't spell my confusing name. Got to say hello to our friendly featured listener-owned business for the evening as well, and that's our friends over at Hero Soap Company. Of course, if you listen to this stream, you know all about Hero Soap Company. You know it's great-smelling, all-natural, high-quality soap that supports veteran and first responder charities with a portion of each purchase. You know that you can subscribe and get a discount on soap sent straight to your door each month, so you never have to remember soap at the store again. You also know that you can get signature soaps designed by yours truly, the Ball Tingler Timberline, or the old saloon doorbuster, Old West. But there are fresh, brand new scents available as well. Over Mountain is a confident, woodsy blend of cedar, fir, and patchouli. Honey plus Bourbon is a strong and smooth, bold and soothing blend with a little vanilla too. As always, get 10% off these new soaps or anything else from Hero Soap Company: bar soap, liquid soap, shampoo, conditioner, cologne, and more. 10% off using promo code MCListener. HeroSoapCompany.com. 10% off everything at Hero Soap with promo code MCListener. Find all the details from Hero Soap, plus other great offers from the rest of our friendly listener-owned businesses, including Hope Innovations, Kinney Mountain Woodsmithing, Western Razor Company, and more. MattChristiansenMedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. All right, Matt, I have an announcement. And actually, I've spoiled the surprise for you, but don't give it away. On last Sunday with Robert, I mentioned that first thing Monday morning, my wife and I were heading to the hospital for the anatomical ultrasound for our third baby, which at that appointment we learned what the baby's gender is, or we did exactly that. So will I have a daughter with two older brothers to look after, or am I adding to my army of men? Well, I am pleased to announce it is another boy. I only have Y chromosomes to give, but I think that's a fine way to live. I'm not upset with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Baby boy number 3 is due September 22nd. We do have a name in mind, aren't yet formally decided. Happy Mother's Day to my wife, and of course my mom, and all the moms out there, including your mom and your wife, Matt.
Does your wife still want to keep trying until you get a girl, or is it like you're
Get that mic on your face. I can't hear what you're saying.
Does your wife want to keep trying until you get a girl, or is it you don't want to risk like 10 kids? Or
we would like to have more, God willing. This will not be the final. You know, I definitely would like to raise a daughter. It's not like I feel a pressure situation next time around. I'm not going to be mad with 4 or 5 boys, but yeah, we're just happy to have I buried the lead. Everything looks healthy. There's no problems, nothing like that. So we're very happy and we feel very fortunate. Hey, there's an announcement in Palumbo world too. Your upcoming book has a release date, right?
December 8th. I'm forgetting my own release date. That's actually the latest release date, so it could be sooner, depending on some logistical things. But yeah, I wrote a very critical biography of George Soros back in 2022. Got probably more press for that than anything else I've ever written. And after Alex took over in mid-2023, it devoted a lot of attention towards him and just trying to dig up any detail I could. It took probably 500 or so hours to put the book together. Almost everything's original in the sense that it's not an American media. Like a lot of it is foreign sourced and took an enormous amount of time to translate, especially if it was in video form. A lot of the data, like for instance, climate change is his top issue. So I wanted to track, well, what has climate spending been like under George Soros versus Alex Soros? And there were thousands of grants to dig through. So I teamed up with Joe Vasquez from Media Research Center. It took us 3 months working every single day to get all the data. And that was one page of the book. We did that was one fucking page. It was
Writing books, that's for suckers.
Oh, and then at the end of that, when we're trying to like audit the data, our estimates were off by like $15,000, and it was so annoying because it's like in the grand scheme of things, out of $600 million in spending, who cares? But we also have to be accurate. We did a similar study for all of Alex's visits to the White House. We went through all the White House visitor logs, which fortunately you could just do a Control F. It made it a bit easier. But then, investigating all the surrounding, things that happened during, before and after those meetings. There was one meeting with Biden that we spend the most time analyzing that definitely was about the thing we found, which, I got to keep it slightly secret. Yes.
A teaser.
Yes. I actually publish it elsewhere. If you look up, Alex Soros White House visits Media Research Center or Newsbusters, it'll come up. We publish it in article form too.
Well, it's so fresh, the cover's not even on Amazon, though you are allowed to pre-order it there. The link is in the description.
Yeah. And for viewers of the show, so if anyone here buys this today or tomorrow and you tweet at me a photo of like the Amazon order, I will email you every other book I have in PDF. So it would be 6 books total for $20. If you do it per book per day, it's 1 penny per day to support a starving author.
All right.
Who's not actually starving.
All right. Well, congratulations on the book.
I don't want to go into too much. We'll do an interview another time.
I'm sure we'll talk about the content of the book, when it's out and all that.
Yeah.
So, all right, moving into the news of the weekend. A big news today is that Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and his team walked out of 2 days of trade negotiations or in Geneva with representatives of China, and announced that they have reached a deal with China to cut the U.S. trade deficit. Now, what does that mean? That's kind of unclear. Trade deficit referring to the fact that we buy more of China's stuff than they buy of ours. But Scott Bessent described the talks over the last couple of days as making substantial progress. Bessent says the details of the deal will be announced tomorrow, Monday. Bessent didn't mention any specifics. They didn't talk about any plans to maybe cut the current tariffs between the two countries. U.S. is at 145% against China. China's at 125% against the U.S. All we know, according to this Jameson Greer, assistant of Bessent's, is that this is going to even out that trade deficit. So, okay. I mean, it's hard to imagine, given the stance that has been taken by this administration, that they're going to come out and announce some big pro-China win or something like that. So in all likelihood, it's some degree of good news. We'll just have to wait till tomorrow to figure out the scope of the good news. But there's not much to say beyond that because we don't know what the details are, other than like, okay, cool. Things seem to be going in the direction that we would like.
I feel like because I was just talking about a book about Alex and George Soros, I morally have to mention that Scott Bessent actually used to work for George Soros himself.
Get that mic on your face.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, like, get the hell out of here with that detail.
No, I'm going to have to tell you every sentence. Otherwise, it sounds like you're back here.
All right. I'm just going to, is this fine?
No. Stick that thing in your face.
All right. Sorry.
Don't take that out of context either.
Very gay. No, there's no details on this. I mean, the markets are up about 2% overnight, or with the futures market, so they're bullish on whatever this is going to be. As for what does it mean with the trade deficit? I mean, the only thing it really could mean is them buying more of our stuff. I doubt China is going to say like, yeah, just buy less of our shit. So
yeah, we'll catch up with the story tomorrow morning, I'm sure. We got another one. Okay, of course, if you listen to this stream, you know that it is the premier chronicler of names that sound like slurs. Need I remind you the famous ones?
Kaniga.
Luke Nigaman. Nick Kurtz. Diego Fago.
Well, a suburban Philadelphia woman has now joined the team for terrible reasons, unfortunately. She's now convicted of 4 felony counts of cruelty to animals. She tortured animals and posted the videos on social media. Her name is... be careful. Anigar Mansi. Here is a local news anchor navigating the danger, but he's black, so he has a little leeway. You don't have to worry about him.
An Upper Darby woman was convicted of torturing animals and then posting the videos on social media. Anigar Mansi was found guilty on 4 felony counts of aggravated cruelty to animals. Police arrested Monsi last year and say she admitted to the abuse. Investigators say she did it to get likes and follows.
He said the N-word.
We'll see if we can get Anigar's side of the story. Maybe I can have her on before she goes to prison. She's going to be sentenced later in July.
It's more of like a Star Wars name than anything else, I think.
Maybe old Star Wars, not Disney Star Wars. They're not doing that. No. According to Andy No, her defense was she was making traditional cooking videos, which sometimes included beheading animals in her kitchen. She faces up to 7 years in prison, again, sentenced in July, or will be. Now, according to Andy No, she's a Liberian woman who previously had some kind of deportation fight. She had a GoFundMe about her deportation battle. We'll see how that resolves. Don't worry, though. She was only beheading and torturing chickens. She definitely was not cooking or eating the cats and dogs in Springfield, Ohio, which, of course, was a wild, nonsensical tinfoil hat conspiracy theory. Nothing to it at all. Or maybe Anigar, once she's out of prison, should just move to Springfield. She would probably fit in well there. All right. I got to leave plenty of time to get through this topic before Liberty Doll joins, because this is one of those big if true. Like, there's a lot of this that is true. When I say big if true, the body slam claim, I need to see if the body slam claim is real. Yeah. But as I mentioned, you can think about this incident a lot like that, the one a few months ago at the education department when there were all these Doge cuts and these congressional Democrats, and they just went down there. They demanded to be let in because we're in Congress and we do oversight. You have to let us in now. And that stone-faced security guy was just like, no way, I'm going to stand here with my arms folded and reject every
disappointed
every little bit of your shrieking. So on Friday, some Democrats from Congress, 3 representatives from your neck of the woods, they are, who we got? LaMonica MacGyver. Never heard of her, but now I know her as the Body Slam lady.
La Monica,
not the Monica. La Monica. Rob Menendez, who, yes, is related to Bob Menendez in that he's Bob's son, but I'm sure is not corrupt in any way, like his dad. And Bonnie Watson Coleman, all congressional Democrats from New Jersey. Then you got Ross Baraka, who is the mayor of Newark. And he's going down there too. And to back up and give a little bit of context here, what they're mad about is Delaney Hall. This is the facility's not new, but it's now newly repurposed as an ICE detention facility in Newark that'll house up to 1,000 people. And Ross Baraka, the mayor, and these congressional Democrats, they don't like that. So on Friday, they go to this facility to host this protest press conference and to try to get themselves a tour of this facility. And it's not exactly clear how this incident turned physical, although we have a pretty good description of what happened. General premise here, these Democrats want to enter. The ICE agents are saying no, at least to the mayor, because the mayor is not a member of Congress. Therefore, the mayor has no oversight capacity. So there was some sort of dispute about whether the mayor would be allowed to enter or not. At some point, he crossed a line he shouldn't have. According to the New York Daily News, the situation became physical when the mayor and the members of Congress attempted to enter the building. But again, it sounds like ICE and DHS were okay with the members of Congress doing that, just not the mayor, because he's not in Congress. So various pieces of body cam footage of this scuffle have now been released. And you can see Congresswoman LaMonica MacGyver shoving an agent and deploying the Waffle House hammer punch at least once or twice. So here's the footage that is now available. There it is.
Don't do it. Please don't do it.
She's going to file a complaint.
Oh my God.
Now, she says she was assaulted. She looked pretty assaulty there. That looked pretty January 6th to me.
If it was a female cop, she would have went for the weave, I guess. But no, it's just so bizarre because I follow a lot of those police body cam YouTube channels.
Yeah.
And that is indistinguishable from any other video. The fact that it's a member of Congress is just a layer of insanity.
Unfortunately, that fits right in Congress these days.
Yeah.
Very Jasmine Crockett. Although I don't think, in fairness to Jasmine Crockett, even I've never seen Jasmine actually deploy the hammer punch. It would not surprise me to see it happen. I just haven't seen it. So we're waiting on that. But yeah, I'm going to file a complaint. Oh, really? Wait until you learn who runs DHS.
Yeah.
I'm going to do it with congressional oversight. Wait until you see who runs Congress. I know a lot of them are spineless often, but yeah. It's going to go nowhere.
Did you see the mayor did an interview after he got arrested and released, and he was talking about like how well he was treated in custody and everything?
I didn't see that part of it. I do have some of his interview, which I'll get to in just a moment. But okay, so he said it, but he wasn't taken into Delaney Hall, was he? He was taken somewhere else.
He was detained and it's just weird because I feel like if you're trying to make a point, you would at least lie and be like, it was the worst treatment I've ever gotten. Yeah. And I'm a mayor. I can't even imagine the illegals. But I don't know, it's just weird. You're saying it's all inhumane, yet they treated you fine. So very odd.
Now, somewhere in this video, at least according to the reporting in the Gateway Pundit, she said, "I touch whoever I want, motherfucker." Now, that likewise, you want to be careful how you use that phrase, or that could be easily taken out of context. But I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it in there. Same defense for that Somali guy in the Shiloh Hendrix case. "I touch whoever I want, motherfucker," except for he's talking about kids, but very similar. More on LaMonica in a moment, because she is the alleged body slammer. But yeah, Mayor Ras Baraka was arrested and charged with trespassing. And again, the dispute with DHS and ICE personnel is that he is not a member of Congress. Thus, he was unauthorized to be on their property, apparently wouldn't leave. He says he was invited. What exactly happened? We don't have all the body cam footage to determine, but maybe that'll come out. Anyway, now he's facing that trespassing charge, and that's why he was detained like you were talking about. Now, here's the reporting that I have on his arrest, a little bit of his post-detainment, I don't know if it was a press conference, speaking with reporters. The audio is kind of janky in this clip, bear with it, but I didn't hear the it was awesome. They had, really nice couches and PlayStation 5s in there or something like that.
It wasn't quite like that.
Mayor Ras Baraka is out of federal custody and speaking out.
I see on social media they're trying to make me out to be a villain. I can't speak about the case, so I won't go into that. But the reality is this. I didn't do anything wrong.
Federal agents arrested Baraka outside Delaney Hall, which is a newly reopened ICE detention center in Newark that holds up to 1,000 people. He went there with 3 members of Congress, but federal agents refused to let him in. He spoke up, and cameras were rolling when agents grabbed him. Agents handcuffed him and drove him to a second federal facility, where his supporters showed up by the hundreds. For hours, his supporters faced off with federal agents behind a barbed wired fence. They were wearing masks and bulletproof vests. Mayor Ras Baraka has been trying to shut down Delaney Hall for some time now. He claims the facility reopened without proper permits and failed safety inspections. And right now, he's charged with trespassing and obstruction.
I like how I can't talk about the details. I'm going to talk about this a lot, though. Classic. Anyway.
So they're such nerds too. They're trying to pretend they care about permitting. It's like, no, you want it shut down. You're looking for the justification, but why are you leading with that?
Well, yeah, their whole premise against Delaney is like it doesn't pass safety inspections or some nonsense.
Nerd.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, that's not all though, because Homeland Security is saying that much more significant crimes were committed than just trespassing, specifically body slamming. Potentially criminal body slamming was committed. And so we saw Congresswoman LaMonica McIver deploying the Waffle House tactics, the hammer punching. DHS spokeswoman Tricia McLaughlin, not sure how you say it, but Tricia said on CNN yesterday that there's video of Congresswoman McIver body slamming an ICE agent, and people are going to see it, and these members of Congress may be criminally charged for these violent acts.
There will likely be more arrests coming. We actually have body camera footage of some of these members of Congress assaulting our ICE enforcement officers, including body slamming a female ICE officer. So we will be showing that to viewers very shortly.
You say a video of members of Congress body slamming ICE
That's correct.
officials?
That's correct, sir. It's disgusting.
Okay, and so if you have that video, are you suggesting that members of Congress will be arrested who were there yesterday?
This is an ongoing investigation, and that is definitely on the table.
Who has the video?
ICE does, and we will be releasing that very shortly.
Now, I'm very conflicted about this. On the one hand, Democrats are lunatics who would happily ruin the country if given the opportunity. They've demonstrated that over the last 4+ years. However, isn't body slamming your local Fed kind of based? And especially your local female Fed?
Good.
Am I being too harsh on LaMonica if she did this?
That's true. Wasn't there a Republican candidate for, I think it was governor, who body slammed a journalist?
That's our governor. Governor Body Slam.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So it could work in their favor.
Actually, it did for Gianforte. He was running a congressional special election at the time, and he was running against this kind of cowboy Bernie Sanders man.
Yeah.
Rob Quist, I think was his name.
Yeah.
And he body slammed the HuffPost guy. There's only audio of it, not video.
There is
But it was the night before the election, and he cruised to victory.
People love, like, there was some, I think it was Michael Grimm. I don't know if it was for his first term in New York, but he was talking to a reporter. I guess he didn't like the reporter's questioning, and he mistakenly thought the interview was over and is like, listen, you asked me a question like that again, I'm throwing you off this balcony. He was live. He won in a landslide.
The audio of the Gianforte incident is always a classic. I wish I had it because, sir, you bent my glasses. Now, I'm not condoning violence against feds, and I'm not condoning violence against Huffington Post reporters. I'm just reserving the right to smirk like Nick Sandman when I hear audio of them complaining about their bent glasses. Sir, excuse me.
Not the feds doing this.
Well,
and in many other contexts.
Well, that's my wife and I were talking about this too, and that's what she said. It's the wrong feds. It's like, well, border enforcement is a legitimate federal jurisdiction, so I get it. This is not the same thing as, say, the ATF or I don't know what. Name the ways in which the feds have encroached on the states. That's not what this is. But anyway, back to my point. Where I totally lost my train of thought here.
It might be cool, was the point.
Yeah, yes. MacGyver responded this morning on CNN denying that she body slammed anybody. Not just that, she doesn't even know how to body slam.
The DHS also says that, in their words, you were body slamming an ICE officer. Is that what we're looking at? Is that what happened?
Absolutely no. I mean, I honestly do not know how to body slam anyone. There's no video that supports me body slamming anyone. We, as Congresswoman Bonnie Watson-Coleman said, we were simply there to do our job. Therefore, oversight visit, it unfortunately did not have to be like that. They created that confrontation. They created that chaos. Absolutely, I did not body slam anyone.
Okay. I don't believe her when she says she doesn't know how to body slam.
Correct.
I doubt it.
You pick a person up and you slam. And I don't believe anybody when they say they don't know how to body slam. I'm just saying I bet she's body slammed at least one person in her life. Just guessing.
I mean, I don't doubt there's video of what they're alleging. The only way it could, I guess, not be true is if they're just very loosely defining body slam or something.
Yeah,
but
well...
she punched someone, so I believe it. And
she
I don't know.
is trained in exotic combat for sure.
That's true.
I know she can body slam. I don't actually believe that she body slammed in this case for now, for a few reasons. We've only seen select pieces of this body cam footage because, as I understand, it's been released to certain news outlets from DHS or ICE. I'm not saying that makes it misleading or wrong. I'm just saying if you're trying to show the worst of what this member of Congress did, you release the body slam first, not the hammer punch or the shove. You don't release the weaker footage. So or maybe they didn't know the body slam when they put the weaker footage out first. However, if you're this DHS spokeswoman, you probably don't say there's body slam footage and it's coming out soon unless you have body slam footage that's coming out soon. But then I remember the same people as Pam Bondi and the rest of them generally. Oh yeah, I got truckloads of Epstein documents. They're coming up. The body slam footage is probably right there inside the Epstein file truck bed.
Maybe they just want rising action to keep it. So, you start low to get it in the news, and then you get a climax as opposed to getting it all at once and getting out of the news. I'm trying to be a shill for the DHS, I guess.
I hope that I'm wrong. I hope tomorrow morning it's great news of a new trade deal with China, and we all get to celebrate by watching the Congresswoman MacGyver body slam video. That would be great. Last thing I want to say before we're finished up with this topic, she absolutely did commit violence against federal agents, whether she body slammed or not. She's on video committing violence against federal agents. Okay. She should be charged. Not only should she be charged, she should be expelled from Congress. It would take 2/3 to kick her out. Democrats aren't going to do that, but they should be put on record to take that vote. And ideally you wait until after the criminal charges, not just because it's the right process, but because it's the smart political move. You can refer to those criminal charges in taking the vote. I don't think either's going to happen though. I bet you don't get criminal charges. I bet you don't get an expulsion vote. George Santos was kicked out for white collar crimes. And even though it was politically costly for Republicans, and I hate George Santos because he's a cringe liar, probably was the right moral move. Debate whether it was the smart political move or not. There is no logical standard, though, by which George Santos must be kicked out of Congress and this woman stays when she's on video assaulting federal police. And when she stays, and I believe that she will, there'll be two possible explanations for why she's there. Either it's Democrat degeneracy or corruption, or it's Republican cowardice. So it's up to Republicans in House leadership and Speaker Johnson to make sure it's not Republican cowardice. Are you going to win the vote to boot her out? Probably not. I'm guessing not, because Democrats won't break even on this. But you have to put them on record as supporting this clown show.
And also, after that, we can never kick out one of our crooks ever again, because they wouldn't.
Even George Santos, as cringe as he was, he has to stay. He's on the team.
Did I ever tell you my George Santos story?
I'm afraid we probably don't have time right now.
It will take nothing away from the episode.
Can I table it until after the guest here?
It's not that big a deal.
It's your night for teasers. Coming up.
All right, you know what? Stay tuned for after the interview for a really riveting George Santos story.
All right, I got to go get Liberty Doll. I'll see you back here in about a half hour.
Sounds good, bud.
All right, I will be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
Welcome back. My guest tonight is Liberty Doll. You can find her links atop the description, YouTube and X, or thelibertydoll.com. Thanks for being here, and happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. It was an exciting day. The toddler figured out how to use doorknobs today, so we have a bit of
you're
chaos.
At that stage.
Hopefully she doesn't swat me during this.
New methods of invasion discovered. Yeah, well, swatted by your own kid, man. I guess I've always worried about that. Like, if your kid figures out how to play with your phone, what if they dial 911 and give the impression that there's some kind of emergency? That would be.
Tried.
Okay.
I mean, she hasn't like given an impression of emergency, but she's definitely like sat there and played, and it's like, and I'm like, no, don't do that.
Well, you have been following this case of this this Navy sailor who,
Yes.
in your description, and I just haven't followed it, railroaded by the ATF.
Oh,
this,
yeah.
This guy's
Hardcore.
name is what? Tate Adamiak? Is that how I say it?
Yes,
Okay.
I think. I mean, he hasn't said that I've been saying it wrong, so I'm assuming that's how you say it. Yeah, Patrick Tate Adamiak. He goes by Tate. This case is absolutely wild. So basically, this guy, he is in the Navy. He's been in the Navy for 10 years. He just gets accepted into Navy Special Warfare School. That's where you go to become like a badass Navy SEAL. And as a little side gig, he was selling legal gun parts, nothing that you needed a federal license for or anything like that. A lot of it was surplus stuff because he also was collecting like military replicas with his dad because they wanted to start a military museum at one point.
Okay, so this was a business of not guns, but gun things.
Yes, gun things. And it was so popular that he actually hit in the top 500 of sellers over at Gunbroker, which apparently got some of the wrong people's attention. So enter in this criminal informant for the ATF who they were paying to try and entrap people. He had over, I think, 20 felony gun convictions on him. That they were like, oh, well, you know, if you can find us someone who is illegally selling machine guns, then your charges will be gone. And incidentally enough, he was actually on ARFCOM, this guy, AR15.com for people who don't know. And they found him out that he was trying to entrap people, and they doxed him and like railroaded him out of there.
So he was doing the meme. He's doing the Randy Weaver bit, like, say, fellow enthusiasts, have you any parts I might purchase under legally questionable terms? Okay, so he's actually that guy.
Oh yeah, totally.
Okay.
And he ended up making some kind of deal with parts for Tate, and he like shows up at Tate's house and sees a replica air-powered machine gun in this guy's garage, and he goes running up to the ATF and is like, oh, I found it, I found your guy.
Replica air power. So quick aside, I guess I didn't realize that there are automatic air guns. Are those counted, or is that a separate legal thing?
I do not know the intricacies of that part, but as far as what this guy owned, when I get to like the court part, they actually got an expert witness from the ATF who used to be this like bigwig in the ATF who sat there and was like, none of these things are legally firearms, but it didn't matter. So the ATF raised this guy, right? Because they got him, they had him sell a barrel shroud that they claimed was a full machine gun receiver. And these are the people that our tax dollars pay to be quote unquote firearms experts, and they don't even know what a barrel shroud is. It's the shoulder thing that goes up. So they raid this guy.
I forgot about that quote. Yeah.
I use it every time I can because it's so ridiculous, and it's
right there next to the 30-round magazine clip or whatever I can't remember that guy in California.
And like
the ghost
like 300
gun.
rounds in half a second. Yeah, Kevin DeLeon. So they raid this guy's house. They don't find a single thing that's illegal. They just find all of these replicas and toys and things like that he bought at flea markets for like $40. Some dummy grenades, which incidentally, I have one of the same exact ones on my bookshelf, and people keep telling me that I'm going to get raided and
careful
now. So
Say, would you be willing to supply me with one of those dummy grenades at a reasonable price? I'm an interested buyer.
So if I disappear someday, it's because I got black bagged by the ATF.
Well, yeah. First, you're getting swatted, and then they're kicking down your door. I guess it would already be down if you got swatted. The point is, all the police are coming.
Oh, yeah. Totes. Yeah. So, you know, they haul this kid in. And the craziest thing Now, this sounds insane, but I got the Pacer account specifically for this case because I was like, all right, something has to be wrong here. And I have read all of the ATF lab reports. I have looked through all the evidence. I have watched the videos that they took of them, quote unquote, firing these guns. And one of the things that they got him for is they have, this was like displayed in his home office. It's a replica demilled RPG that they said was a rocket launcher. And it says right on it, inert training dummy. And it's got holes drilled through the barrel. And the ATF took a independent training firearm mechanism that you can just, hold in your hands and do the thing and it fires. And they dropped it into this RPG, held it in there with electrical tape, and got this independent firing mechanism to shoot a single training 7.62 round. And they said, oh my God, this guy has a rocket launcher.
So was it like some kind of constructive intent, or how do they, if the way he kept it was not operational, he wasn't in possession of this part that they had, they introduced the part?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And he had some like frames and receivers and things and like replica firearms that were the semi-auto versions of, full auto machine guns. Mm-hmm. He had these Sten toys that are made out of, I think they're nickel. Like they don't have rifle barrels. They don't fire. They are just toys that sit there, and they were putting these like independent firing mechanisms into these things. And the lab reports actually say, well, we examined this thing and it doesn't fire, or it's semi-auto, but we're calling it a machine gun.
So are they getting him on unlawful possession of machine guns or on selling guns unlicensed, or both?
Both.
Okay. All the things? All right.
Yeah, all the things. And so they get this expert witness for the ATF who looks in here and says, well, none of these things are actually legally firearms. And the DOJ charged him specifically under the NFA and frame and receiver rule. They arrested him on it 4 months before the rule went into effect, days before the rule was even signed.
Oh, that's its own angle, its own process problem. Very interesting.
Yes. And then, so they get into court. They have, at this point, they've seized all his savings. They have seized all of his precious metals, saying, oh, well, the only way that you could have this is if it's, funds from illegal gun trafficking. They took his electronics. They took his family's electronics, like even ones that his family members used for work. They took all of the things. They debanked him, all of this. So then he has to figure out how to pay lawyers, right? They get into court, and the DOJ tried to use his military service against him. They tried to claim that these replicas and inert things that he had gotten at flea markets and gun shows and had all the paperwork for, they tried to claim that he stole them from the military.
Okay, but he had documentation showing where he acquired.
Yes.
Did they go after the people who sold those things? If he is in unlawful possession of them, the transfer of them must also have been illegal.
You can still buy all of that stuff anywhere on the internet without an FFL. It's wild. I told you, none of this makes sense.
You mentioned his military service. What is his? Has he been kicked out? Is he still in the Navy? What is his status?
He has been discharged at this point with full honors, but they let him use his, Navy vacation time or whatever while they were still paying him throughout all of this, because they were like, well, these charges are bunk, basically. And then so they're charging him under the frame and receiver rule. The NFA, they did not allow the actual technical definition of machine gun in court because they said that it would confuse the jury, and they said that it was not relevant to the case.
I thought there were machine gun charges, though.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Sounds about right.
Yeah, right. And it's just the whole case is so ridiculous. And So they're not allowing the jury to be informed. They're not allowing his expert witness to testify.
Where was this prosecuted? Where's he's? I assume
Virginia.
Okay, so he's from Virginia, I assume.
Yes.
Okay.
At this point, he was living in Virginia. And, they have all of these lab reports that are just like, oh, machine gun, but you sit there and you read it, and that's not what it is at all. So the jury, being uninformed and not knowing anything about anything, and having this very anti-gun judge that was not allowing all of his testimony and all this, they sentence him, they convict him, and they sentence him to 20 years in federal prison. Now, his appeal has been kicking back and forth in the courts. Now his lawyer is Matt LaRosiere, formerly, I believe, of Firearms Policy Coalition. He's got the Fudbusters YouTube channel. And so the appeal, this gets even crazier. They're arguing, again, okay, none of these things actually meet the legal definition of machine gun. You didn't allow the expert witness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And they were waiting on the Vanderstock ruling, which was the ruling on the frame and receiver rule that was waiting at the Supreme Court.
So this was the one that was in the ghost gun context, right? Or the 80% kit context.
Yes.
Okay. So it's just interesting to think about how all these things are interconnected too. It's I think a lot of times people who are outside of gun world, it's like, well, that's just like a weird, obscure thing, and I don't care about that. No, the principles being established apply to all sorts of things until suddenly that interesting World War II era grenade replica sitting on your on your shelf is a problem.
One of the other items was a flare gun.
Okay.
Yeah, they called it a grenade launcher.
I guess
it's a flare gun.
Maybe you could, assuming it was the grenade was dimensionally the same as the.
I mean, if you tried hard enough, I guess.
And when you say you watched videos of the ATF testing these firearms, those videos exist.
You can watch them. It's the funniest thing. I think Mr. Guns and Gear posted it recently. It's you really sit there and you're just watching and you see the little ATF guys that think that they're so badass and cool march up with this dummy RPG that literally right there in front of the camera says inert training dummy. And they take this separate firing mechanism. Now again, remember, they're saying that this is a rocket launcher and they just put a 7.62 training mechanism. So it's not even the ammo that they're claiming this thing has.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of bore does an RPG even have. I don't. I haven't handled one, but I guess so. You're saying you can get what did they fired a 308 or an AK round or something down the barrel of an RPG? Is what they did.
It demilled with holes in the barrel RPG that was only for training purposes, and they claimed that even though they couldn't get it to work, someone with enough tools and know-how could properly get it to work. So much
someone with
in
enough
the
tools
Matt
and
Hoover
know-how
case,
can build a nuke, destroy the whole world.
Oh yeah. Because he was remodeling his bathroom at the time or something, and he had a wet saw in his house for remodeling his bathroom, and they were like, "Oh my God, you have gun tools."
Oh, well, okay. The reason I was curious about the testing is what is the facility? Do they just go to a range and do this, or do they have some sort of dedicated facility? Where does the ATF do this sort of testing?
I believe it's just an ATF lab.
They actually have. Do they put on scientist? What's the lab coats or whatever?
No, they're just in their little uniforms.
Oh. This is hilarious.
Yeah, and the guy Bodell, he was the one that was testing them and providing all this information in court. I believe it was his first case that he'd ever done, and he'd only been on the job for a year or two. And his resume is 12 months of gunsmithing somewhere. I don't know where they found this guy, why or how. But anyways, so the appeal is kicking back and forth. And when Vanderstock was decided earlier this year, this is, I think, very important. Just as, one of the things that was brought up was the concern that the DOJ, if the frame and receiver rule was kept in place, the concern that the DOJ would then try and turn around and apply that same rule to NFA items. And Clarence Thomas had this same concern. And Gorsuch, in his opinion, said, well, no, this is not going to happen because these are two very separate things. This rule will not be applied to NFA items. Wouldn't you believe? I believe it was like a week or two after Vanderstock is decided, the DOJ comes back on Tate's appeal and says that he has no grounds for appeal because it's not a Second Amendment issue and because of the Vanderstock ruling, and they are applying it to NFA items.
And this is the Bondi DOJ, the Trump DOJ.
Yes.
This is not Merrick Garland and company.
Correct.
Okay. And
this is now Pam Bondi's
right.
DOJ.
So just so I understand what's going on here, in the same way the Biden era DOJ said, well, those 80% Glock kits, I mean, they're not technically Glocks because you can't shoot them unless you put them together, but aren't they kind of close enough that like a guy with a drill and the jig can do it? Right. The idea here is, sure, that's not a machine gun like as it exists on his shelf, but like if you put this part in here and did that, same idea. So how close is too close? And the ATF has gone maybe tinkering a little bit to make closer.
Right.
Okay.
Some of the items that they tried to include were they're called like Mac 10 flats. I guess they're just like sheets of metal cut into a T.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how exactly these are supposed to be machine guns, but the government also tried to claim that those were machine guns, and those Dan O'Kelly did get struck from the evidence because he was like, no, this is literally like a piece of metal. This is not.
We're not talking about the
remotely...
auto key card. Are we something else?
That's something else.
Okay, totally different.
Totally something totally separate.
I confuse my pieces of metal
tactics.
And pieces of plastic sometimes. Yeah.
Very similar tactics, honestly, between the two cases.
Okay, so as it stands, he's in prison now, still trying to appeal. But you were mentioning that you've become best friends. You've become pen pals.
We have become pen pals.
So this is interesting to me for two reasons. Let's start with just what his state of mind is and how he's feeling. But I also think the relationship of pen pal with a prisoner is very interesting. And I've never tried to do that. So what's the process like?
Well, so in his case, Mr. Guns and Gear, which is a big gun YouTube channel, had covered the case as it was going on. And I feel bad because these are the kinds of things that I like to cover, is like these government injustices and the crazy crap that our government is doing to people and, sucking them in their net. So Mr. Guns and Gear had covered this, but I had not heard anything about this case until January, when this guy, Lee Williams, he's with the Second Amendment Foundation with their investigative journalism arm, started writing about Tate. And he's been writing about him like every 2 weeks or so since. And he included in there, one of the articles, his contact information as to how to get a hold of him. And at the time, there was the coverage from like 2023 or so, and then nothing really until Lee Williams's article in January. And so I wrote up a video and I put it out there, and I am not going to claim that it was just me, but after I put out that video, his Give, Send, Go jumped up like $5,000 or something like that.
Cool.
And I was like, damn, nobody's talking about this kid.
I haven't heard of this case at all. And I'm not like, I mean, I pay pretty close attention to high profile gun rights cases, but yeah, this one's new to me. So for whatever reason, I definitely take your point that I don't think this one got the attention of a lot of other ones.
No. And like full disclosure, at this point, I had already written this so awful. I had already written, a letter to my boy Luigi in prison, and I was like, you know what?
Wait a minute. Wait. No, You're gonna have to explain that, because are you a member of the fan club, or you're just trying to?
No. Well, fan club is a strong word. No, I'm just I'm a basic true crime bitch.
Okay, see,
I guess.
now, I wasn't going to make overly generalized commentary about women, but I do know this is like a lot of women are into this. Like, write the criminal.
Yeah, so I'm
okay.
in. I will say I am in some of the subreddits.
Okay.
These girls are crazy.
And so what was your Luigi motivation? Just like, I want to be the one who gets a letter back so I can shove it in their faces, or what?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay,
I was like, I have the mental health
be that
background.
bitch. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Well, and so I actually had made friends with someone who had gotten a letter back from him.
Oh, so he is writing back.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Dude, he has a mail catalog on his website with this like formula, this anonymized formula. So you can see like when he's gotten your letter. He has not gotten mine yet.
God, I didn't know this was like so formalized and managed.
Oh, it's
right.
wild. It's a total circus. It's crazy. Anyways, I had made friends with someone who had gotten a letter back from him. And she was like, oh, well, I told him about the time that I was like smeared in the media. And I was like, yo, I've been smeared in the media. I have been in The Guardian. I have been in the LA Times. Let me write this guy and be a pick-me girl and like get the letter back that totally explains his psyche, because I have the mental health background.
Right.
And I was like,
okay.
Anyway, so I figure I am already on a list for my channel. I'm on a list from like all my Ron Paul support back in the day. I'm on, the supposed terrorist list now for writing Luigi Mangione. I'm like, let me write this kid a letter, possibly potentially put him on a list for contacting me. But
it seems like he's on many lists too, so it's probably not a problem.
I was like, let me write this kid a letter and just let him know that there are people out here paying attention to his case.
Are you a handwritten person, or is it like a computer type or typewriter? What's your method?
Well, the first one I typed because I did not know. So every prison has different restrictions around mail and page limit in all of this. So for Luigi, for example, 3-page limit. Tate, I have no idea what his limit is.
God, this is so involved. I had no idea. All right.
I sound like a crazy person. It's fine. So anyways, I wrote him a letter and I was like, look, there are still people out here like paying attention to your case. Like, it really sucks what happened to you. I was able to help raise some funds. They're in the Give, Send, Go. I don't know like who's operating that, but good luck. And he wrote me a letter back and I was very surprised. And he had actually somehow heard my video and knew about my coverage. And I mean, it might have helped that some people in the Give, Send, Go were like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I saw Liberty Doll's video. But, and I don't know. He was nice. So I wrote back. And
so it was just pleasantries, or did he give you any insight you didn't already have in the case?
I mean, not particularly, because I think at that point I had already gotten like the Pacer account. And so I was reading through all the court documents and all of that. But
well, we blew through a half hour very quickly. So
yeah, sorry, I did not expect that.
Well, I didn't think we were going to talk about letters to prisoners, but you never know what you're going to get. That's very interesting. And hey, if you get mail from Luigi, please let me know. I'd be curious what.
Well, I was like, yo, I'm going to keep it on the DL if you respond. But,
so you offered him confidentiality.
I also went in the angle where I was like, you know what? I mean, I used to be a therapist. Honestly, so I used to be a therapist, as I've mentioned before. And when I started out in community mental health, I actually was one of the few people in this program who worked with the criminologic population. So like that's the men and women that are on probation and parole. So I have, experience with people going through the legal system, and I've heard stories of things that are like, what it's like in prison. And You know, there are definitely some people that are wackadoos, but a lot of times what it comes down to is, you know, the real criminals, honestly, a lot of childhood trauma and making bad decisions based on that background.
And that's one thing that's really interesting about the Luigi case. And I'm no fan of Luigi. All right. I think people who listen to the show are aware of that.
To be clear, I think he's guilty as fuck.
I saw that's a video that I saw. So this is not like a Luigi defense. This is just an observation that he does not fit a criminal profile really in any standard way.
I think that's why it's so interesting to me is I'm like, oh, because I was always kind of good at, like, I was the one that was good at like figuring the people out and figuring out what made them tick. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
So what's your theory? Do you think just the back injury made him crazy and he's like, all right, fuck it? Or what happened with him?
You know, I am not sure. There was definitely I think that there was probably some kind of, I don't want to say mental breakdown, but the fact that he was supposedly this super social, like well-liked guy. Like when he was a counselor at Stanford, there was like some fan club Discord server that some of the students
He's
made
had
about
fan
him.
clubs forever. It
Yeah,
seems.
basically
Okay.
is what I'm gathering.
Yeah.
You know, he was a super social guy, and then suddenly he just up and like backpacks to Asia and disappears, and no one knows where he is for months. And there's like missing persons reports and all of this. And then when he shows back up, it's to shoot a CEO. And for what? Because I mean, that's shooting a CEO isn't A, murder bad, B, that's not going to change anything.
And there was no connection either. Like it's not like he personally was denied by United Healthcare or something.
No,
he had no policy. His family had no policy. There's just a guy who's symbolically represented.
Blue Shield.
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
mistaken identity is the Blue Cross CEO. Like, whew, man, that was a close one. I don't know.
Well, so I mean, if you this is going real deep, but I mean, if you watch the footage. And there are people out there that have like done little like bird's eye view of the actual dimensions and everything of the scenes. He didn't actually have a clear line of sight to Brian Thompson.
Meaning, what do you mean clear line of sight to his face or something?
And like he was on the phone beforehand. So one of the theories is that he had like an accomplice or something, because he also mentioned in the quote unquote manifesto something about like social engineering. I don't know. But
he had like cased out the place long before the shooting.
He got there, let's see, I think the week of Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
so
I thought he was well aware of the
10
event.
10 days prior.
Yeah, okay. So, I mean, that to me cuts against the idea that he didn't know exactly who he was targeting.
Right. I mean, it was just the fact that like it was dark and it was like 6 a.m. No. Yes.
Something like that. Yeah.
Something like
Didn't
that.
he go to
Yeah,
Starbucks, get a
about,
coffee, and then kill a guy? So that was his morning.
Yeah. Yeah. And then to like go on this like wild goose chase, but like leave your fingerprint printed trash like gently on top of the pile of trash. I don't know.
That's right.
It's bizarre. And the fact that like every time he shows up at court, there's like these billboard trucks going by and people in costumes and like this guy with this fake electric chair with like a dude in a Luigi outfit.
Wow.
In it. It's a circus. It's crazy. But I mean, they also didn't Mirandize him. There's been a legal search and seizure. They shut off their body cams when they searched the backpack. They've been listening in on his lawyer's phone calls, preventing him from legal counsel. So, I mean, you know, I don't think, I mean, definitely murder. I don't think that terrorism is an appropriate charge. But the only reason that the feds got involved on the federal level was this was leaked due to pressure from the insurance companies themselves. And then his family has ties to Nancy Pelosi.
The jurisdiction's definitely questionable, even though obviously he should be prosecuted for murder. But hey, plot twist. What do you think the chances are Luigi was just shopping for gun gun-related things on Gunbroker one day, and he got caught up, and all of a sudden he was framed for murder. Who knows?
I mean, I doubt that. I think it. Like I said, I think he's guilty as fuck. But
for liberty-related news and analysis, gun-related news and analysis, maybe even a little bit of an incidental Luigi fan club, I guess.
that got way derailed.
You can head on over to thelibertydoll.com. You can find Liberty Doll's YouTube account, X account atop the description. Anything else you'd like to promote before you're out of here?
Well, I'll tell you guys that there is a website, freedomfortate.com or freedomfortate.org. If you guys want to know more about the case, you can go over there. You can check up for case updates, and the Give, Send, Go is also located there. Right now, like, his lawyer is doing this pro bono, but they do have to pay for expert witnesses and filing fees and all of this other stuff, and the federal system does move very slowly.
All right. Well, thank you as always for your time. Of course, happy Mother's Day once again, and we'll see you back here sometime soon.
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
There she goes, thelibertydoll.com for all things Liberty Doll. I will be right back.
Stand back and stand by.
All right, we got to get into some super chat. Oh wait, you teased your story. I forgot.
It's not really that great of a story.
Oh, now you're honest.
All right. No, back
get that mic on your face.
Back in 2023, one of Steve Bannon's people invited me to a party at some random place in Mahwah. Very nice home. And I guess George Santos was going to be there. And the guy who invited me got lunch or dinner with George Santos the week before and was talking about people who were going to be there. And I guess when he mentioned my name, George Santos goes, "Oh I love Matt Palumbo." And the guy told me, and I'm like,
man.
I'm like, he is gay. I'm like, there's no way he knows who I am. So when I walked up to him, I deliberately didn't say who I was when I went to go shake his hand, and he had no idea who I was.
Of course, because he lies about everything.
the dumbest things.
He lies about things that are totally inconsequential.
Yeah.
Just pleasantries at a party. He's that kind of liar. So
yeah.
But, all right. Well, I hope that lived up to the hype.
It did not. I was defrauded by George Santos.
Compelling and rich.
Socially defrauded. Yes.
I got people to stay past the guest. So
yeah,
it was very good.
Thank you for sustaining the audience. It's super chat time. Let's get into it. Over on Rumble, Elbot. Thank you, Elbot. You are always appreciated.
I am not going to be niggardly.
Yakko. 1977. Thankfully, we elected a GOP Congress that is pro-2A so they can sit on their hands and not pass a bill that removes suppressors and short-barreled rifles from the NFA. We don't hate rhinos near enough. Yeah, well, and even the legal case we were just talking about with Liberty Doll. Now, I should clarify, the prosecution was under Merrick Garland and company. The appeal that is still being fought is a product of the Trump administration. And, of course, not that Trump has been inactive in pardons otherwise, but this guy could be pardoned anytime. You could just release him from prison tomorrow. Pete Hegseth could let him back in the Navy tomorrow. As far as I understand, he didn't do it. He didn't body slam anyone. He just had some stuff on his shelf and maybe sold some stuff on his shelf to a few people a few times. But thank you, Yakko. Laughing boy. Well, you bite the hands. You bite the hand that feeds you, will you stay on your knees? I guess I don't know the context. Who is biting the hand that feeds them?
Yeah.
Mysterious.
My knees. Yeah.
Thank you, Laughing Boy. Yeah. Friendly Neighborhood Fed. Finally graduated with my master's in engineering. So excited not to be in classes filled with Indians anymore. jeez. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to say, I'm calling Trump on you, you Bipty MF.
Jeez.
Where do I have that one's buried in here somewhere? I don't have that one on standby, although I can. Did I lose it? Oh wait, no. Yeah, here it is.
I'm calling Trump on you, you illegal motherfucker.
Of course. Also, your friendly neighborhood Fed. Seriously, I got 188 comp sci or out of 188 computer science grads, 186 were from India. Wow. So not just like of Indian descent, you're talking like from India, came here on some sort of student visa or something like that. One from Saudi Arabia and a Bipty from Texas. Okay, so that's the clarification. One Texan guy. Why do so many Indians go to Ohio for grad school? Are they automating their call centers? I couldn't tell you. I don't know. What is it with Indians in Ohio?
Yeah. Someone said that the number of phone scams has gone down since the war broke out.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
I missed that part. I'm not stealing jokes here.
On Wednesday, I was browsing the YouTube comments on some reporting on the India-Pakistan war. Or, it's not a war yet. I guess they have a ceasefire agreement now. But, the back and forth, the airstrikes, and that was one of the top comments on there. Thank God they'll stop calling me now. This is great. I don't care if we have, international nuclear war over it. Whatever.
You see that meme? Someone edited that famous photo that was like, no Vietnamese ever called me the N-word, and it was like, no Pakistani ever called my parents pretending to be Microsoft.
GR,
Classic.
Hey Majaga, and my favorite strap girl. Great surprise to see you, to see the one and only Liberty doll on tonight. I'm really hoping this becomes a regular thing now. She'll definitely be back. She's in the rotation. I appreciate her contribution, and as long as she would like to keep coming back and telling Luigi love stories, she's welcome to around here. GR, although no, I maybe I'll do a little less Luigi love story next time. I don't know. We'll talk about something else. GR says, that was great. I wish Liberty Doll was in my fan Discord, at least my clubhouse on Discord. It's a guys club, but chicks who stay strapped are always good to see. I think that's more and more common these days. I remember, so I didn't start carrying until 2018. And back then, we weren't a constitutional carry state. You had to be permitted in Montana. And I think it's a good practice to get permitted anyway, just so you can carry in reciprocity states. But when I took the class that you had to take to get the permit, I don't think it was majority women, but it was a lot of women. And I think this was like the post-Parkland time. This was like spring 2018. I think a lot of people were there for the same reason I was, that there were very serious threats to your gun rights emerging. But people can watch, these days when almost every crime committed is on video posted to X like tomorrow. When you can see the way these things happen, you realize like, it may be unlikely that someone's going to come for me, but if they do, I am my own first and last line of defense. There were a lot of women that were obviously very serious about that back then. That was cool to see. And I think that sustains today. So even though we don't necessarily think of women like in the self-defense community as much, there are plenty of them for sure. GR says, that's about it for tonight. Rumble is rejecting and hating on my VPN. That's a bitch move, Rumble. Good night. Well, Godspeed to your VPN. Sorry to hear it, but thanks for tuning in and supporting. Okay, over on Odyssey, and then I'll get to YouTube and Tippy. Got some good memes from Blankets. Appreciate that very much. Blanket says, Matt, happy Mother's Day. Well, happy Mother's Day to you. What do you enjoy doing for Mother's Day? Well, we actually kind of did stuff yesterday because, of course, I work on Sunday. So we didn't have a lot of time, or I didn't have a lot of time for Mother's Day ongoings today. But yesterday, the whole family went shopping. We went to the nursery, as in the plant nursery, and we got various things to plant around the yard. And we did a little bit of amateur landscaping, trying to get some plants going in the yard. So that was cool, and got a lot done. So much appreciated to enjoy that time with my family and to have Mother's Day that way. And of course, there were Mother's Day gifts and fun things like that. Anyway, happy Mother's Day, Blankets, and thanks for supporting the show. Let's see. Are there also these memes about like the Last of Us girl being a dad? What's that about? She said she's going to be a dad.
Is she like one of the 9 bino people or whatever?
Something like that. The girl who plays Ellie in the Last of Us TV show, which I don't watch because it looks like crap. But
she looks like a real life version of those like Charlie Kirk shrunken face memes from half a decade ago.
Yeah,
it's very odd.
She does look like that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Blankets. Unique name. Wednesday's question was for under college. All right. Single illegal men getting involved with families and anchor babies, and then actual illegal families that came. Now he's offering self-deportation as a grace right before school ends. Oh, yes. Your question was about, do you expect like deportation against students to tick up or any change once school's out? And I remember the question now. And I said I wouldn't really expect a change for that reason. But yeah, you're talking about, okay. Like, I guess I don't understand the anchor baby angle here, but when you say he's offering self-deportation as a grace right before school ends, that, yeah, Trump is doing that, the self-deportation bit. Like, they pay your airfare and there's some other benefit if you decide to actually leave now, if you're illegally in the country. Yeah.
Which to them is a lot.
Long Dong John, thank you, unique name. Long Dong John, we haven't done one of these for a while. Fuck, marry, kill. Oh, God. Shiloh Hendrix. The Indian N-word lady. Yeah. Where's my button? Yeah.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
Her. I think that was the last time you were on the show, right?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was great.
Or the Chinese N-word lady. I don't have her handy.
I'm not answering, by the way.
I guess it's for me.
Yeah.
All right. Even though I admire the entertainment value of the clip,
Get out of my face, you fucking nigga!
I'm not an Indian guy, so I'm out.
My answers are my wife, and the enemies of America.
Yes, we'll kill the enemies of America, and
Yes.
yeah, okay, right.
Yes.
My wife understands that I'm bound to whatever super chat tells me to do. That's a term of our marriage. So, I mean, how could I not marry Shiloh? I'm marrying Shiloh, okay? And that leaves the Chinese N-word lady for the other option.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Adios.
Bravo, Victor. I don't miss the blonde bimbo. Jeez. But would love to hear her take on our Aryan queen. I mean, Shiloh Hendrix. Times have changed and things are different. I'm not so petty and I'm not so vengeful that I can't say that would have been a show. That would have been a show. The blonde show with Shiloh, that would have been a show. I agree. Hey, Lilo, I don't know how to say Lilo. I can't even read right now. Lowbrow. How did I get Lilo out of that? My brain doesn't work. Lowbrow McCarthy. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but Matty P is highly regarded by his books. Whatever happened to that? Highly regarded token or whatever that was?
Oh, it failed. I lost all my fucking money. Yeah.
You still got to get that mic in your face. I can't hear you.
It failed miserably. No, we saw like an inside joke with my friends. I don't know if we even started this, but you can't say can you say the R word on YouTube as to get flagged? Still?
Say whatever you want. I don't give a shit.
Oh, you can say retard now? Even on YouTube?
Say whatever you want.
We're in a whole new era.
Yeah.
No, you used to not be able to say retard on Facebook, so we started saying regards. We started calling ourselves the National Regards Assembly, our little guy group.
Yeah.
But yeah, just that's why he refers to me as that. I'm surprised he didn't plug my book.
The token was highly regarded, but I guess it wasn't highly purchased.
It was then everyone sold it, and I lost everything I put into it.
You put everything you had in highly regarded token, huh?
Oh, I'm bankrupt.
And now you write. Now you're forced to write books. And now you're living that sucker life.
Tragic fall from grace.
Injured Guardian. Never break a glass bottle to make an improvised blade. You'll often slice your hand. Either ignore the bottle or throw it and then close the distance. Or just wear knives, as every gentleman should. I don't know if this is a reference to what I said at the end of my Kilmar video yesterday. I was just thinking, in the bar context, like, you shouldn't be drinking that cocktail, break the bottle. I don't know. To your point, I don't have experience in breaking a bottle and threatening a man at a bar.
I did it once just to see what would happen. And in your head, the bottle is going to break like perfectly into a weapon.
Yeah.
And instead, you're just holding the handle of the beer bottle. It's not useful at all.
Or it cuts your hand, worst case scenario.
Yeah. So, yeah, it doesn't really work well.
Esoterica Unbound. I was a skinny little 12-year-old. A young woman of color and girth threw me across the table in 7th grade art class. And like she was part of the WWE, body slamming is second nature to some of these heifers. Yeah, that's probably correct.
Bingo.
All right. I think that's all of them for right now. I believe so. Yeah. Let's get back. We'll come back to your chats at the end of the show.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
And we'll get back into the news. Now, I meant to talk about this at the start of the show, but then the Chinese trade deal stuff came out and I had to push it back into later. But of course, major news this week was we have a new Pope.
Yep.
And I've talked a lot of Pope recently, and I'm also not extremely qualified to tell you. I can't honestly tell you like, oh, terrible pick. This guy sucks based on like 2 tweets I saw of him hating Trump. I can't tell you great pick. He's going to do this or that with the Catholic Church. I'm not a person who should be listened to in that way. But there was one thing about the selection of the Pope that I thought was interesting. Of course, Pope Leo XIV is Robert Prevost? How do you say his last name? But he's from Chicago.
One of the two, yeah.
Notable in that he's the first American Pope, certainly, regardless of whatever you think about his philosophy, theology, all that. I thought the one thing, the metaphor of his selection was interesting, or is it even a metaphor? But right before the smoke emerged, the white smoke, to announce the selection of a pope, there was a seagull sitting right next to that chimney. And this seagull appears to be regurgitating a rat to feed its young. Like there's a seagull barfing up a rat. Little baby seagull starts eating the rat. And then some 30 seconds later, white smoke. Now, if you accept this scene as a symbol or an omen, and not everybody does, but if you accept that premise that it means something, there's a lot of debate on X about whether that's good or bad. When I saw this, I thought that's interesting. And my gut reaction is like, rats, like barfing up rats, that's gross. That can't be a good sign.
But maybe he was infected by the rat, and now it's being purged.
Yes. So you're on to the debate that emerged on Twitter. It's like, the negative metaphorical representation I was thinking of is like, okay, rats, they represent disease, death. Seagulls, I was reading a lot of people debating this. Seagulls are typically or often metaphors for a messenger. They represent a messenger. So this would be like a message of disease or death to come. But there are a lot of people talking about the potential good sign, like you mentioned. It's nurturing, it's nourishing one's flock. It's taking something that was unclean and repurposing it to renew life. And there's also a lot of people being like, this is a bunch of like pagan bullshit. We don't do omens around here.
Well, so wasn't it Benedict who? I mean, obviously it's before Francis, by definition. He released a bunch of doves, like in to encourage peace in Ukraine, and they were immediately all attacked.
Oh, I don't remember that.
That omen panned out. Let me Google. I feel like that happened. Hold on.
There are also those who aren't even convinced that's a rat. And in fairness, I don't. It just looks like a rat. I'm just granting this premise in the tweet that it is a rat. So maybe it's not even a rat. But anyway, interesting to think about. Let's get to the updates on.
That was right.
Oh, they threw a bunch of doves in the air and they got.
It was just symbolized for peace in Ukraine, and then they all got attacked. And,
attacked by what?
I think it was crows or something. Hold on.
Oh,
not crow. I don't know. I'm getting paywalled, but this was a year before Russia invaded, so apparently, you could interpret it that way.
So
anyway,
omens, and this was at the Vatican. This is where was it at?
Yeah, it's at the Vatican.
Okay.
It was an Oliver Stone's movie. I think that's why I know this. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, we have an update in the case of the aforementioned Shiloh Hendrix, the N-word mom in Rochester, Minnesota.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigger!
My selection for bride, if I'm forced into it, I guess. When I talked about this story last weekend with Robert, there were some statements from the Rochester Police Department that confirmed that there was an investigation and that implied that criminal charges were possible. And no, not criminal charges for the Somalian accused child rapist who had his charges dropped for unexplained reasons. Charges for Shiloh Hendrix for saying the unsayable word. There's a lot of political pressure. There was this week, and we mentioned that too, because this protest was coming up on Monday. They did the protest. Activists are out there trying to convince the city attorney to charge Shiloh with what? Who knows, but charge her with something.
We're looking for the woman in question to be charged.
You need to charge Shiloh.
Many in the community feeling uneasy.
I'm a black person myself and I have black children, and I worry about them every day when they go outside.
Justice needs to be more than a word right now. It needs to become a standard, okay?
Well, to the First Lady, hey, if you're worried about, criminal threats to your black kids, statistically, there are much bigger threats than, moms saying bad words at the playground.
Or rapists on the playground. I feel like it could also be bad.
There were some other dangers at that playground that day. But yes, consult the FBI crime data. Infer whatever you may from that.
And, I was going to say, by the way, the 1350 statistic or 52 is actually an understatement, because if it's something like 90% of murders that are not cleared, it's a black person getting murdered. For all other races, they almost all get cleared. So if you extrapolate unsolved murders and assumed 90% of the perpetrators are black, it's 1360 plus when you make that adjustment. So it's as bad as it is. Are you calling me a nerd with that?
No,
anyway, it's worse than the official stats actually look, because it's not accounting for unsolved murders.
Well, yeah, and even as the 13 figure is also a little bit imprecise in that we're talking about a particular demographic within a particular demographic. It's actually not the body slamming middle-aged female members of Congress. It's it's men generally aged 15 to 40 in that demographic or so. But the Second Lady, though, justice needs to be more than just a word. Why? Are you saying words alone are insignificant and don't mean that much? Why does justice need to be more than a word? Why are you diminishing words? I thought the whole premise here was words have the power to destroy lives, and thus Shiloh Hendrix must be prosecuted.
And the whole N-word was them appropriating it from us so it wouldn't have any power. So what was the point, man?
Get on that, Mike. Still losing you. You got to pull.
As I was saying,
yes,
the
there
whole,
you go.
The whole reason they appropriated the N-word, which we invented, it's cultural appropriation, was to take its power away, which they kind of did among themselves. Then why does it matter now?
Yeah, good question. Really, we should have gone to this protest and we should have spoke
easily. We'll talk to them.
Sure, it would have ended well. As always, none of what crime should she be charged with? How does this make any sense? If words don't mean anything or words are insufficient, then how does she commit a crime? Not about the principle. It's not about moral truth. It's just about punishing perceived enemies by any means necessary, and Shiloh Hendrix is that perceived enemy. But the Rochester police say they have concluded their investigation into the incident, and they have submitted their findings to the city attorney to consider charges. What would these charges even be? Unspecified. If they were going to try to bring charges, it'd have to be probably some kind of harassment, some kind of, you can't even call this a threat. She didn't say, I'm going to do X to you, N-word. It was just calling the guy a mean name. And really, it was over such a short amount of time that even a harassment claim seems like it'd be very, very hard to prosecute, because you'd have to show that harassment involves going after a person who wants to be left alone. She was leaving, and the guy followed her to her car. See, even a harassment claim would be hard.
Technically speaking, we don't have proof she actually said the word either. That's not in video.
Yes,
so she could just say, "No, I was pissed off. I was trying to make a statement, and I never even said it."
We don't have proof that she said it to the child.
Yeah, the other guy.
She did say it to the guy.
100%
She did.
It,
yeah, in the video, she said it to the guy. Yeah. So, but that's an important point on the charges too.
He's an adult.
Who's the? Yeah, is the Somali man now the victim and not the kid? because the whole premise was the kid was the victim, but now we're making the Somali guy the victim.
And the NAACP set up a fundraiser for them, and then took it down after a few days, which leads the question of why.
I didn't see that because I thought
I don't know if, unless I'm wrong, but some people
it's still referenced in this story. It says has also raised more than 340. No, you're right. The NAACP has since closed its fundraiser.
Yeah. So
why?
That's the thing. Like, are they worried about something that's going to come out, so they're just going to take the money? I don't know. It's weird because if something's going to come out, it's going to come out regardless. Like,
okay, that's an interesting point. I didn't see that because if whatever information they may have to prompt that closure is so damning and so conclusive that the NAACP is saying, okay, even we can't spin this. Once this information is out, nah, it's over. I think, as I said last Sunday, my read on this, even though it seems like Shiloh is a mom who's clearly had enough and, yes, probably does have some racial animus for reasons I bet she can explain, even those people who are hardened in their racial views don't just go to a park and start uttering the N-word, especially at children. I bet, and again, I've seen behavior like this among punk kids. I bet that kid was, and I'm not accusing him, I don't have any, as my speculation, I bet there was like racial agitation that prompted her to say that. Hey, what are you going to do about it, white bitch? Something like that.
Yeah, they're trained. They know from a young age they can weaponize those sort of allegations. Remember, I think it was Aaron McIntyre worked at like an urban. He's a really good Twitter follow, but I think he worked at an urban school when he started teaching and said that was their get out of jail free card. Was they just accuse you of being racist, and then that somehow just shuts everything down because people care what
if you can bait someone into saying it, like the Indian woman.
Get out of my face, you fucking nigger!
That is a paycheck, that or a weapon, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot of perverse incentives.
The thing that a lot of people that are like a lot of the mainstream conservatives, and I'm glad Matt Walsh is like on the right side of this. What they're missing is it's not even should she or should she have not said the word. It's what are the consequences of this? And the consequences are if you want to cancel someone, there is a high probability now that you are going to make them a ton of money. And there is going to be a million cancel attempts that just don't happen because of this.
That Somalian man said it in his interview with local media. I thought she was going to be punished, but I guess not. I guess she's going to be rewarded. Well, doesn't that isn't that this was never about justice? This was never about actual victim. It's just you thought you were going to be able to harm her with a weapon, and in fact, it went the other way. So, yeah, we'll see. But in this case, of course, I think there is not only just there's no basis to bring charges in that there's no victim in the criminal sense here. There's no to bring charges would be a constitutional problem because there was no threat made here. There wasn't any type of incitement to any sort of activity. It's just, I don't like you and I'm going to call you a stupid name. That is absolutely protected First Amendment speech. I also recognize, though, that this is clown world. So I actually am fully expecting some kind of ridiculous, desperate charges to come against Shiloh based on the activity of these activists and based on my general guess about prosecutors in Rochester. Now, my understanding is the city attorney will handle a potential charge in this case. It's not the county attorney, the person who dropped the charges against the Somali man, not the same person. I don't think the Shiloh saga is over. I think they're going to keep pressing, but we'll have to stand by and see.
But they have to also have the thought, if we go through with charges, that legal defense fund is going to have like the GDP of a small country.
Maybe.
So there
definitely more than Somalia, for sure.
Yeah, and for sure. And also, I know this is obviously illegal, but if she were to just leave the state, what percent of states would extradite her back there? Like, no one really. Like, who would actually give a shit?
Right. Okay. Yeah. She's a fugitive. She goes to South
Florida,
Dakota. Yeah.
She went to Florida. Nothing's going to happen. Florida wasn't even going to extradite Trump if in his cases. So.
Got it.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well. Yeah. She can. I don't know. She'll not only will she not be extradited, she'll be like welcomed into. She'll be a celebrity
and hero.
Anyway, we'll see if they actually try this. Now, if they try to bring charges, it would be hilarious to see this appealed on First Amendment grounds. I want to see the case before the Supreme Court. Sonia Sotomayor, Jumanji Brown Jackson getting hysterical against whoever's representing Shiloh in her appeal, like breaking down this N-word incident. That would be some of the best Supreme Court listening that's ever existed. So I can't wait if that actually happened. Anyway, in immigration world, this week, White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller told reporters that Trump is considering whether he can suspend habeas corpus in the immigration context. So habeas corpus is just the right of the person to challenge their detention in court. So you can't hold people indefinitely without charges or a trial. That person, whoever you're holding, they have a right to appear before a judge. And if the prosecution can't explain the detention, they're not going to be held. This is Article 1, Section 9, Clause 2 of the Constitution. It reads, paraphrased, habeas corpus shall not be suspended unless in cases of rebellion or invasion, the public safety may require it. Okay, so on Friday, Stephen Miller, Deputy White House Chief of Staff, he comes out and says, I don't know, maybe this is an invasion or maybe this is a public safety threat. Maybe these illegal immigrants, for them, habeas corpus should be suspended. We're thinking about it.
Well, the Constitution is clear, and that, of course, is the supreme law of the land, that the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be suspended in a time of invasion. So I would say that's an option we're actively looking at. Look, a lot of it depends on whether the courts do the right thing or not.
Okay. So he's saying we might have to use this as a weapon to fight back against these activist judges who are inserting themselves into the executive domain of immigration law enforcement is the idea, as we've seen many times recently. The challenge, of course, to this legal theory that he's talking about, really, there are two things. Number one, do illegal immigrants present the sort of invasion or public safety threat that the clause requires? I think there's actually a pretty good argument that they do. I don't think that that's an unreasonable interpretation. Probably the toughest thing that this sort of activity would face legally is who declares such public safety threats or such invasions. Given that this clause appears in Article 1, which describes Congress, I think it's pretty fair to say that this is supposed to be a congressional authority, this sort of decision making. That's not to say it hasn't been used by presidents in the past under legally questionable terms. But that is kind of the legal question that's going on here. Miller also has another argument, a statutory argument. So saying that these judges are behaving in ways contrary to a law that Congress has passed, the Immigration Nationality Act. According to him, and I don't know if this is correct or not. I haven't read the law, but Miller's a knowledgeable guy, so I can't imagine he's just making it up. He's probably, if he's not exactly correct, he's probably mostly correct. He says the Immigration Nationality Act actually prohibits this type of judicial intervention in immigration cases. That would be another reason they're considering this method to try to combat these judges who are inserting themselves potentially in areas they don't belong constitutionally. Why do I bring all of this up? Well, obviously it's an important legal argument, but beyond that legal argument, there was just a hilarious response from.
Oh, that was so good.
Oh, do I not have it
there
here?
It is.
Oh yeah,
actually,
okay,
it's right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Lincoln Project, okay? The collection of never Trump Republicans, Rick Wilson, George Conway, Steve Schmidt, all those guys. On Friday, the Lincoln Project tweeted out that video of Stephen Miller, and they said, suspending habeas corpus, let that sink in.
You cannot be serious!
So perfect.
So, suspending habeas corpus for our history nerds out there. Well, you seem like you know what the comedy angle on this tweet is. What is the relationship between, say, their namesake and habeas corpus?
One man who infamously suspended it, there's a whole project named after him today that is anti-Trump. Who is also part of the same fucking party as the guy. Very confused people.
During the Civil War, according to the Washington Post, and my sources say this is widely accepted historical fact, Abraham Lincoln suspended habeas corpus. That was later deemed unlawful by Chief Justice Roger Taney on the Supreme Court. Is it Tanny or Taney? I forget. Anyway.
Both.
Yeah, he can be both. And actually, Abraham Lincoln did it twice. First in Maryland to secure Union rail lines, and then nationwide to manage, wartime dissent and conflict. Now, the only way the Lincoln Project could have embarrassed themselves more thoroughly is, if they start tweeting out calling other people pedophiles. Then it's going to get really weird if they start doing that. But at least this group of men, they have lost all capacity for embarrassment and shame. They lost it long ago, so I think they'll be just fine. Anyway, I should be fair in my accusations. I don't know how this was resolved. When I say they shouldn't call other people pedophiles, it's because they had this whole scandal, 4 years ago, 2021, in which their co-founder was alleged to have sent inappropriate messages to young men.
So he stepped down, and then they just pretended it never happened.
Oh, he actually hangs out at parks in Rochester, Minnesota with a Somali guy now.
Yeah. No, the whole Lincoln Project was just one big scheme to funnel money to consulting companies that the founders owned, because they were running campaign ads in 2020 in Manhattan and DC that are anti-Trump. And it's like, the companies behind the ads were companies they owned or partners in some way. So it's just a kickback scheme, but there's no evidence whatsoever of the impact of the election.
Well, at least it's one of outside of Keith Olbermann, the Lincoln Project is one of the top lolcow follows on X.
The guy needs help, man.
Yeah. Who runs their account? I wonder. Which guy is it?
I think they just pay a firm to do it.
Oh, so it's some idiot intern somewhere doesn't actually know the Lincoln context.
Yeah. But I don't know, the voice of their tweets during the 2020 election was very teenager-like, which is, in character for, given what I just said.
That sounds perfectly on brand with these guys.
Yeah.
Anyway, also there's news on the battle over transgender people in the military. Of course, this has been an ongoing legal battle, not just recently. This was a legal battle under Trump, the first administration. But under Trump, too, they're trying to remove transgender people from the military again. There's been a court battle ongoing. In fact, it's still ongoing about whether there's, at least for the people already in the military, they have a right to remain in the military if they're transgender. The question now, though, of whether Trump and Pete Hegseth, defense secretary, can proceed with removing transgender people from the military while this legal challenge plays out, that was addressed by the Supreme Court on Tuesday. The Supreme Court said in a brief ruling, I don't think they even offered commentary, if I understand correctly, but they granted the Trump request to lift the nationwide injunction blocking the policy. What does that mean? Trump can now start booting trannies out of the military immediately. The lawsuit is going to continue, and that will be decided on the merits later. But immediately on Thursday, Pete Hegseth announced, sorry, Troons, you are out of here.
In accordance with policy now reinstated, service members who have a current diagnosis or history of or exhibit symptoms consistent with gender dysphoria may elect to separate voluntarily. There's a timeline here, and then eventually involuntarily if necessary. This is the president's agenda. This is what the American people voted for, and we're going to continue to relentlessly pursue it.
I shouldn't misquote him, actually. At no point did he apologize, but there is a grace period. We referenced the grace period earlier with the self-deportation. You get the free flight out of here. I guess it's the same. It's 30 days in the military. Hey, if you're a guy walking around with lipstick and heels, you got 30 days to figure out a plan to get the hell out of here. That's what's going on right now.
It's a transition.
To transition to a new life. Yes.
Yeah. My whole thing with the trans in the military is there is countless mental disorders where you cannot become a member of the armed forces if you have them. And a lot of them are things that probably affect a double-digit % of the population. So if anxiety is going to prevent you from being able to join, I can't imagine saying to a recruiting officer, like, yeah, I don't have anxiety, but I do want to chop my penis off. Like, I can't. I feel like that's worse, Well,
and I wonder to the extent it was that was formerly an offered service, if I understand correctly. Like you would get the gender transition services as a matter of your military health care. You do wonder. I haven't seen numbers on this. Of course, that's not why people they joined for love of country. They joined for patriotism. You can't tell me that zero trannies joined for the sole reason of getting free services, whatever those
it's
services.
Expensive. It's very expensive. So the left, they're always like, yeah, but as a percentage of the expenses, it's low. And I'm like, well, yeah, because as a percentage of the military that's trans, it's low. It's by definition going to be like that. But it is, I know there is unfortunately a lot of abuse in the disability system for the military. And, there are people that working, I watched that Caleb Hammer financial audit show, and there's been at least 4 ex-members of the armed forces who were working desk jobs and are getting full disability for like anxiety or depression or something. So
well, not even for physical injuries, just like mental issues.
Yeah, wow. Mental issues. Okay. They got the depressed. Like it was the and I don't know how you fix it because obviously you risk hurting a lot of people who really do need it, and I wouldn't want that. I mean, we're not.
And it's politically untouchable too.
Yeah, but my point being, like, if you can get it for that, you're gonna get it for the trans stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numbers on how many transgender people are currently in the military vary pretty widely. Some advocacy organizations say it's 15,000. The Pentagon says something more like 5,000.
That's below the representation for sure.
You mean just like general population or what?
Well, okay, so as a percent of the general population, it's probably, I don't know, 0.5% or so, maybe 0.3%. So how many are in the armed forces? Like 5,000? Is it 1 million people in the armed forces total?
Total. Let's see.
Well, yeah,
total U.S. military force, and I forget how they calculate it. Like, is it active duty only? Does that include the reserves or whatever? Approximately 2.1 million troops, including 1.3 million active duty and 762,000 reserves. So you do the math and get back to me.
0.23. So it is. If you round up, it's in line with population.
Okay,
but it's not like they're especially patriotic or anything. Yeah.
This court challenge is not going to be resolved in the 30-day time frame, obviously. So these removals are coming. Yeah. There is really no further legal intervention for these people in the short term. And for whatever sympathy you may have, people sign up to support the country. We should say, okay. Anybody who celebrated people getting kicked out of the military for vaccine mandates and not taking the shot and all that, you have to shut the hell up about this sort of stuff. All right. Yeah. Everybody, not that there are a lot of people in this audience who were of that persuasion, but it's a lot of the same people generally who were just clapping for kicking very qualified, high level, high class soldiers, Marines, airmen, sailors out of the military because they didn't take the shot. Meanwhile, you have people that have severe mental issues, and some of whom are probably there for questionable reasons in terms of getting certain services that, by the way, even if you think they're entitled to those services, they're going to take you out of your ability to serve the country anyway. Like, I joined to become an infantryman and fight on the front lines, but it's going to take 3 years because I got to chop my dick off and sit around and wait for that to heal. Yeah. Even if you take a more understanding view on this sort of thing, you have to recognize that even if you don't think it's a mental health problem, the physical interventions that go along with this take someone out of a combat-ready role. And maybe you say, well, not everyone has to be in a combat-ready role. Maybe you're doing some kind of desk job or something. No matter what job you're doing, if you're having parts cut off for questionable reasons, it's going to impact your job, okay? Even if you just sit at the desk all day.
The way I try to sell it to the left is I'm like, why not just pretend that trans people are too precious to risk in combat? And then, it's actually a good thing for them.
Why would we put our most vulnerable in danger?
I know.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, that's why I've never really understood well, I shouldn't say never, because I used to have a more blue-pilled perspective on the women in combat stuff. But now that I've thought about that and changed my mind on that, it is, like, even transgender stuff aside, women on the front lines is its own sickness insofar as it denies what every society forever has understood, that men protect their women. Instead, we're like making them meat shields. Yeah. That's it's very bizarre that it's the anti-woman, quote unquote, perspective to say they shouldn't be fighting people in a military context.
I think if we bluffed one day that we were going to bring back the draft for women, that would, for once and for all, that whole issue would just be gone.
Yeah, maybe.
No, 99% of women are going to be like, we're not even talking about this ever. Like, we're not going to even risk 3 of us doing it voluntarily because that'll open the door.
I don't know, man. I don't know that we will ever find the true bottom of feminism. It goes, it's infinite. So,
have you ever? So I'll stop after this.
Well, if do you have another quick aside that you'd like to tease?
Well, no stories or books. No,
Oh.
no. It's just the left. They only talk about the military in a positive light when it's someone from their coalition serving. Like they would never talk about a white guy being patriotic, but when it's a trans person, it's like, oh my god, how noble they're making sacrifice.
Of course,
even though they're
it's not military like everything. It's not the thing for its own sake. It's the thing to the extent it's useful, and that's where military service fits too. Did you see the video of the Frontier Airlines agents?
We've all been through it, man.
All right, viral video this week showing 2 Frontier Airlines agents of color mocking a customer. The customer was trying to check into a flight from North Carolina to Boston. He did cut time short, this customer, okay? If you're trying to get on your flight, I would say show up with more time than 30 minutes before takeoff, which I guess he didn't do. But whatever happened, these agents are mocking him. I haven't flown Frontier for years. The last time I flew Frontier was 10 years ago. I flew from Bozeman to Denver and they lost my luggage. And that was it on Frontier. I've never had any other airline just have my luggage go missing. It was a business trip, so I looked like a jackass because I had no nice clothes for what was supposed to be nice clothes type meetings. And it was all Frontier's fault. So I've stayed away from Frontier for a decade. I was way ahead of this, I guess. But I guess on Frontier Airlines is such a poverty operation that you have to pay $25 extra to have the privilege of talking to a gate agent. That's how it works.
Jeez.
It's not like a checked bag fee. There's a checked bag fee just to talk to a person at the airport.
It makes Spirit look good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess this guy didn't purchase this add-on. He didn't purchase the privilege of talking to these women. So here was the moment of them mocking him.
And you think you're gonna check me in? I bet you we won't. Hey?
I paid for a ticket.
And you didn't pay $25 for an agent assistant, and you checked in 3 hours later. Hello.
I just said that I.
Get on your flight.
Yeah, I just said that I would pay the $25.
And you thought you was gonna get on your flight. And you thought you was gonna get on your flight. And you thought you was gonna get on your flight. And you thought you was gonna get on your flight.
I literally paid for a ticket. I'm here 30 minutes. I'm here 30 minutes before my flight, and they're not letting me check in.
And you're not getting on your flight.
Because it's a policy. We don't control that.
And you will never fly.
You were about to let me check in. You were about to let me check in, and you decided that you ain't gonna let me check in.
Make me check you in.
You literally work for a company that I bought a plane ticket for. I'm here 30 minutes before the flight.
Can you please leave, sir?
No.
Can you please leave my personal space?
I'm not in your personal space. This is not your personal space.
This is my stationary.
This is not your personal space.
Oh, man.
Listen, I saw someone try to community note this on Twitter and be like, well, he is in the wrong because there is a fee. And it's like, all right, first of all, customer service lesson is how, like, I've worked in jobs where I have the self-awareness to know something is BS, where I would explain to the customer, like, this is our policy. Trust me, if I was running this place, wouldn't be there. Like, you have to at least make it relatable and not come off as a total,
the mockery
but
bit.
They're incapable.
The policy itself is.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this. Okay.
It's so insane.
If I was confronted with this, I would be mad too. But it's the mockery. What is it with the repetition bit? Why is it always the repetition bit? Oh, you thought you was going to get on your flight. You thought you was going to get on your flight. Well, now it's and you thought you was going to keep your job. And you thought you was going to keep your job. I hope their bosses delivered the news of their firing with the same repetition, with a video camera, with a phone in their faces. You thought you was going to keep your job.
Now you fired.
Yes, Frontier Airlines spokesman tells TMZ, I guess they weren't. Frontier is saying they weren't Frontier employees. They worked for a third-party contractor. Now their relationship is severed. But if that's true, did you sever the contract with the third party? If you don't control their employment, how did you sever their whatever? The point is that they're not working at that position anymore on behalf of Frontier Airlines.
Are we the only country where they only hire people who hate you to work at airports? Because in London, everyone was as polite as could be. Even the people who looked like that were extremely polite. I was in Switzerland, and like they make small talk with you as you're going through like their version of the TSA. Like,
I hate
what
that.
Are you doing while you're here?
But I would take that over this. To your point.
Correct. Yeah, it was just I would.
These women interviewed for post office, and they said, "I'm sorry, you're far too likable. You have to go to the airport."
They couldn't do DMV either.
Yeah. In fact, but good news for these women. I know they're out of work. What do you think the chances are of them showing up in Congress very soon to hang out with LaMonica and Jasmine Crockett? I think they fit right in.
There are districts in New Jersey, like the ones they're part of, where you can just walk into a seat if no one's running because there's no Republican can contest them. So if you can get like a couple thousand votes and pretty much be guaranteed.
So it's possible.
Yeah.
This happened in North Carolina, so I guess they'd have to move. But it's possible.
And then the media will do that routine where everything they say is brilliant and inspiring.
Yeah.
And,
Well, one more story and then I'll get to some hoax hate. But did you see the return of Joe Biden?
Oh, of course.
So this was his first TV interview since leaving the White House. He appeared on the View on Thursday. But of course, he wasn't allowed to do it alone because Dr. Jill was right by his side. Now, during the show, Alyssa Farah, is that how I say her name?
I think it's Farah. Like, her dad is Joe Farah. I think that's how it's.
Okay, thank you. Alyssa asked Joe Biden directly about all the claims that he was mentally incapacitated while president to quell all of that misinformation. Biden muttered a bunch of unrelated points, and Dr. Jill jumped in to bail him out.
Since you left office, there have been a number of books that have come out, deeply sourced from Democratic sources, that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities. Are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that, number one. Number two, think of what we were left with. We were left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started, not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying, And we're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues. One of the things and
Alyssa, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us. And they didn't see how hard Joe worked every single day.
That was 4 days ago, 5 days ago.
You didn't have to be in the White House to observe the incompetence, of course.
That COVID stat, more people died under him than Trump. I remember it was widely reported when he crossed that threshold.
I think what he's doing to get to the million is he's counting excess mortality after the vaccine was released, which raises its own questions.
Yeah.
But yeah, we call this a non sequitur, of course. You could grant all of these points. Oh, you had to deal with an insurrection? You had to deal with COVID or whatever these other challenges were. All of that could be true, and you still might have been mentally incapacitated. These aren't mutually exclusive things. So anyway, the rest of the interview, they talked about Kamala as well, and Joe Biden discussed her loss and said he wasn't surprised by Kamala's loss because the Trump campaign went the sexist route and everyone hates women and blah, blah, blah. But that raises its own interesting questions. If you weren't surprised by the racism and sexism, then why did you endorse Kamala Harris when you saw the racism and sexism coming? Unless the Biden endorsement was sabotage, which is his own.
That's what I think it was, because they were. It's one of those like inside sources claim stories, but I think the plan was to actually nominate a candidate, and then Biden knew she would lose. And the internal polling, John Favreau from Pod Save America claims he had seen the Biden campaign's internal polling, and Trump, after the debate, was projected to win over 400 electoral votes, which would have been even more demoralizing than when Harris lost, losing every single swing state and losing the popular vote, which was, historic for the past 20 years. So Kamala, as much of a disaster as that was the best case scenario.
I would like to, this is just my gut feeling. I'm not basing this on polling or any, I bet Biden would have performed better than Kamala Harris, though. No. I don't think he would have done worse.
I'm the opposite camp, but
wish I could watch it play
both
out.
Lose. Either way, they both lose. So
yeah, I don't think there was any way that that Biden was going to win. Of course,
yeah.
But the other follow up I wish I could hear is okay. So they went the sexist route. Which route did you go when you defeated Kamala Harris and she accused you of, at least implicitly, of being racist?
Yeah.
He opposed the busing, the glorious busing.
Which, good. Biden used to be pretty based on a lot of issues. I hate to say it.
He didn't want racial jungles. I get it. Yeah. God, old school Joe Biden. Those clips are hilarious.
That crime bill, like Biden saved thousands of lives with that bill, and for some reason there were Republicans attacking him over it for being too tough on crime, and it was like, no, it's fine, totally fine. He sucks now though, but
he had a good run. All right,
yeah, he had a good run.
Time to talk some hoax hate.
And now, the nobody saw it happen, but it's totally a product of Trump's America hoax hate crime of the week.
Ah, shit, it's backwards. You think they'll notice?
Well, back in September, a 21-year-old black man named Javion McGee was found dead hanging. It was initially described that he was hanging from a tree. He was not, actually, but that was the initial presentation. Hanging from a tree by a rope. Vance County Sheriff Curtis Brame said there were no initial signs of foul play. This was a suicide. McGee's family said otherwise. They launched a Justice for Javion campaign. And they called the sheriff's comments grossly premature. The comments that this was not some kind of murder or a lynching, but it was in fact a suicide. This must have been some sort of racial attack, the family maintained. Well, now 8 months later, the investigation is complete. And no, this was not a lynching or some kind of racial attack. This is according to the medical examiner. Plus, there's Walmart surveillance footage showing the guy buying the rope.
Tonight, a medical examiner has officially ruled out 21-year-old Javion McGee's death as a suicide and says there are no signs of foul play.
You'll remember last September, authorities found McGee's body hanging from a tree in Henderson. He was coming from Illinois to drop off a load for his trucking company. Now, his family suspected foul play, but surveillance video released by investigators showed McGee buying a blue rope at a nearby Walmart the night before his body was found.
His death grabbed the nation's attention as people believe that he was lynched and linked to the 1955 murder of 14-year-old Emmett Till.
Oh my God!
You have any more Emmett Till thoughts?
No, it's just, listen, the kid didn't deserve to die, but he did not just whistle at someone. That whole story is what his friends claimed, which, they kind of have an incentive to lie, but I'm not going to get myself in trouble there. Listen, they do. It is worth noting that black people do have very low suicide rates. So you could say, like, well, it would be rare for this kind of thing to happen, but rare doesn't mean never. And if a racist is going to do a hate crime, you'd think they'd go for like the old 1800s style rope or something to make it consistent, not some like blue thing from Costco,
Yeah.
Anyway.
When I say that he wasn't hanging from a tree, what is the statement from?
Which, by the way, the amount of manpower it would take to get a living, breathing human up dangling from a tree. Like, I haven't really thought it through that much, but it would take a lot of people to restrain someone to then do that. Like, they would have to have other signs of trauma on their body from the struggle. No?
Yeah, assuming there was a fight, they didn't sedate him or something like that. But when I say that he wasn't hanging from the tree, he was actually found with his back against a tree and a rope connected to a tree branch tied 11 times around his neck. It wasn't a noose. He wasn't just like up in the air Like you think about it in a lynching way. So it was pretty clear from the start that's not what this was. But now the medical examiner has reached the same conclusion. I don't know what the family's response will be. They raised almost $20,000 on the Justice for Javion GoFundMe campaign. What happens with that money?
I think they'll refund all of it. Do the right thing.
I hope you didn't donate. Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, the family suffered a suicide. It's very sad, of course. But I can sympathize with that situation. There's a lot of just lies in here, though, that like, no, it was a hate crime because there was no suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
Well, okay. We're not just going to come out and publicly lie when we have no evidence to that effect. So you have to question, the legitimacy of the fundraising to the extent it was based on a lie premise. It was not like, hey, we lost, our brother, our son, we need a funeral, help us out. No, it was a lie allegation on which the allegation against somebody out there, not even anybody in particular, just somebody out there.
It's just weird that we talk about Emmett Till as if he's the only black person ever killed by white people. And there are so few examples. We do have to go back to 1955 for one. Very interesting.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And lynchings, I forget. I've asked it on the show a bunch of times, and I've looked it up a million times, and I can never remember. But there has not been an actual lynching for decades, at least a known one.
The KKK hasn't been linked to a murder in 40 years, and the lynching estimates I've seen, like the low end is 3,000, the high end is like 5,500 or so. Let's say 6,000.
There are more trannies than that in the military.
Correct. There's more black people killed by other black people in like before summer usually than have been lynched in the past 300
Yeah, we
years.
call that a summer of love in 2020,
True.
Anyway, are you an NBA guy?
Oh, no.
Neither am I. But sometimes I dabble. And if you follow the NBA or just sports in general, when I say I dabble, one of the reasons I dabble is to follow the antics of one Draymond Green because they're so hilarious. If you follow sports in general or the NBA at all, you surely know the name Draymond Green. He's a player for the Golden State Warriors. And he's legendary for his aggression, some might even say violence, on the court. He is not just a tough player or a rough player or a physical player. In my opinion, he legitimately commits crimes on the court. He commits assaults. He punches people. He chokes people. And the NBA is so spineless that they just slap him on the wrist every time. And he's out on the court to assault someone new very soon. So here's just a few examples of Draymond's routine violence in recent years. He's choking a guy out.
These are all crimes.
I would say so.
It's not like shoving someone too hard. There's a lot more intent than
the choke out and my favorite. I shouldn't celebrate what I believe to be crimes, but he always does this thing, and the foul in question here, he acts like he's just flailing or slipping, like whoa, acting like he's clumsy when in fact he's punching a guy in the face. That's kind of what he did this week. He got weirdly violent during a Warriors-Timberwolves playoff game. And then he got called for the foul because it was obviously one. And then he yelled in the referee's face. What does this have to do with hoax hate? It's tangentially related. I'll get to that in a second. This is all the setup. I've had to cut these clips very short because the NBA is going to imprison me for copyright infringement if I don't. But here's the foul. This is elbowing Timberwolves player Naz Reid in the face while again flailing to act like he's not doing exactly what he's doing.
A review here. Yeah, it's got a chance. Got a chance to be upgraded to.
Whoa, how clumsy of me. Oh my God. You would think an athlete would have better control of his body, but okay.
He's acting like one of those like wavy things on the top of the car dealership.
Wacky waving, flailing arm.
Tube man.
Yeah, that whatever the term.
Yeah, it was a Family Guy or something. Yeah.
So he got called for, as he should, and then he yells in the ref's face, well, that's fucking bullshit. You can see him saying it.
Because all he's trying to do is draw the foul, and now Draymond is just yelling at the official, very, very frustrated.
Okay, but Draymond, he's misunderstood. He's not an angry, violent person. It's just racists want to portray him as an angry black man, all right? It's an agenda against him. So during a post-game interview, Draymond says he's very talented and educated, you know, and he's not going to be discouraged by all those who want to smear him.
Look like the angry black man. I'm not an angry black man. I'm a very successful, educated black man with a great family, and I'm great at basketball. I'm great at what I do. The agenda to try to keep making me look like an angry black man is crazy. I'm sick of it. It's ridiculous.
Now, see,
what's angry there?
You're making my point. You're not an NBA guy, but I assume since you're not an NBA guy, you don't read NBA media or watch NBA media. Correct?
But you can be all the things you just said and also be angry. These are not mutually exclusive.
I guess the point I'm trying to make is people who have concluded that Draymond Green is an angry black man have largely reached that conclusion based on momentary observation of him. They didn't read an article. They didn't like listen to someone's secondhand take. They watched video of his behavior for 5 seconds. 5 seconds. They thought, wow, that black man sure is angry, unlike all those other black guys who aren't as angry.
They have no self-awareness, man. Did you see that Michelle Obama interview from last week or the week before where she was talking about how, black women aren't, they don't express enough about their emotions and how they feel? Like, come on,
was this
man.
the As a Black Man interview with Marlon Wayans? I know what he meant, but it was still funny.
No, I don't think so. I mean, they're all the same episode to me, so I could have been, but, maybe.
So, of course, the story now is not, hey, Draymond Green is kind of insane and kind of violent, and he's not really held accountable. Maybe the NBA should get serious about this guy. No, the story is that his anger may have been justified because, of course, someone in the crowd might have said it.
He said the N-word.
According to Sports Illustrated, the slur, as in an unidentified Timberwolves fan who may have said it, the slur lends some context. Let's see if I can find the quote here. Hold on. I want to characterize their reporting correctly. The incident, the slur, may lend some context to Draymond Green's post-game comments. That's why he was so angry. It's not because he's an angry black man. It's because someone said it. Well, one, even if someone in the crowd called him a slur, which there's supposed video of it, which we'll watch in a moment, I'm not clear on the timeline. You could probably find the timestamp here and make the determination, but either it happened before Draymond's outburst on the court, in which case he's taking violent anger out on a player who has nothing to do with it and a referee who has nothing to do with it, which is still wrong. Or Draymond Green was called the slur after his outburst, which means his outburst had nothing to do with being called a slur. Or three, and I think this is the most likely explanation, the slur never happened at all. It is just retroactive, supposed justification.
Queen Shiloh, if she was in the episode, would say it's because he was acting like it.
So. Was she in the crowd with her boy?
She should have been, just to drop that one.
I called him out for what he was.
Probably never happened.
This was in Minnesota, It's not inconceivable that she was there.
The guy was framed.
Yeah. Maybe you've connected the dots.
I might have.
The Sports Illustrated story says an unidentified fan was ejected from the arena for directing a slur at Draymond. Which, okay. We didn't get any detail, though. Who's this person? Unidentified. What did this person say? Kind of unidentified. At least we can't hear it. At least I can't. When did this supposedly happen? Well, we have some detail there. Sports Illustrated says it happened when Green was riding a stationary bike courtside during the game. And there's video provided, and the caption is, quote, someone called Draymond the monkey emoji B word. And I don't know, is it baboon? What is the monkey emoji B word?
I'm not racist, so I don't know.
Oh. They're not even alleging the N word. It's like monkey emoji.
Well, they're not identifying him, so they want him to be rich.
We got to stop these GoFundMes, or these gives and goes. Whatever it is, I mean, listen closely. I can't hear anything in this video they provide as supposed proof of the slur. I hear someone yelling, "Why you mad?" and him responding, "You soft."
Yeah. And he wants to send more of my tax dollars to Ukraine, it looks like.
No, he's yeah, it's not, normally you would think that outfit is just like some Democrat Party uniform, but yeah, it's Golden State Warriors colors and attire. But whatever that was, that's very tame heckling.
Yeah.
That is a normal sporting event. And supposedly that justifies the behavior of Draymond Green. Once again, a very racist, anti-black country keeps giving a violent, insane black guy a million chances and paying him millions of dollars to do this. And he still, at least implicitly, calls everybody racist. So I look forward to Draymond Green's upcoming murder trial in which he offers his ironclad defense.
I'm not an angry black man.
Case dismissed. It'll be over.
I just want a world where just for 1 year, the media kisses white people's ass and cuddles us like this, just because the headlines will be so funny, like, white man shoots kid, here's what. Like, just, I can't even imagine how they would do it.
Reverse Vox explainers?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be so good.
Yeah. Anyway. All right. Well, we got, that's all I got. So we'll catch up with a little bit of Super Chat. We'll call it a night.
And I'm going to open the regular chat and read things out.
All right.
Whenever someone says like I agree with Matt or good one Matt, I just pretend it's about me.
Joke's on you. They can't hear you because you're still not on the mic.
I got tweets complaining about my mic action from Dangerous Space. I'll go like his tweet.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy.
That's my friendly producer. So he's trying to get to you indirectly.
I should give him like my cell phone for next time.
But speaking of Dangerous Spaces, he says, Last of Us, Ellie Downsey was talking to her girlfriend who fell pregnant. I remember that from the game. Not only did Ellie imply that her girl whores around, she actually said, I'm going to be a dad? Seemingly unironically. Okay, so that was part of the show. As far as I'm aware, that didn't happen in the game, but maybe they took some liberties with the show. On The View, Sonny said that because of all the Biden administration's successes, Kamala said she wouldn't have done anything different, only slightly paraphrased. Joe responded, I did not advise her to say that. Okay, I didn't catch that part of the interview. He threw her under the bus so quickly. So maybe there is truth to this Biden sabotage angle. Matt, you're being really unfair to Joe. He was very coherent with every answer he gave. The thing. Well, anyway, yeah. Anyway, I've spoken too much in this interview of me after I've disappeared for months. God, man. It was always a question in his presidency when he'd say like, oh, they're going to be mad at me for this. Oh, I can't do that. It's like, you're the president though. Who's telling you can't do things or you shouldn't? I get every president has advisors and handlers, I suppose, but like you are ultimately the boss. And Biden's still saying it after the fact. Like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I can't be doing that. Anyway.
Well, if I'm reading the comments, I just want to apologize to everyone who made a comment about me sucking on talking into this fucking thing. It won't happen again. I'm.
It's kind of a meme, but yeah, you got to
let you all that.
You got to eat that.
Into a positive for the next. It'll hold the something. I don't know.
Yeah,
won't happen again.
This is how memes emerge. So
I'm gonna bolt myself. I move around too much. I'm too anxious.
And you thought people was gonna hear you, and you thought people was gonna hear you. That's what I'm gonna have to say to try to remind you. All right. Let me give a refresh over on YouTube and Tippy. I think we're good on Odyssey, good on DLive. Over on YouTube, AP can't watch live but wanted to make sure to ask, did you hear about the lead singer of Three Doors Down? Late stage cancer, super sad, such a kind man. Hope everyone prays for him. I did not hear that, so that must be, I guess I don't follow the band super closely, but anyway.
We love you. You're very special.
So I assume that's news that is recent. Let me work to find information on that. I mean, I don't know that much. I did have the Three Doors Down CD as a young man, the Kryptonite album, whatever that was called. You know that song? Or are you too young for that?
Oh, so I was just reading more comments complaining about my mic action. I'll turn this chat off right now. I'm sorry. No, I didn't realize it was that bad. I had such great points that no one got to hear.
Well, I'm telling you got to eat that mic, man.
All right. Well, I'm a new man as of 11:18 p.m.
Yeah, there you go.
Time. Yeah.
But yeah, reported over the weekend, Brad Arnold of Three Doors Down and the rise of young people getting cancer. How old is he? I guess, he's 46.
Yeah.
And what kind of cancer? Kidney cancer. Okay. Advanced stage. Wow. So this is rough. Unfortunate, but yeah, hope all the best for him. Thanks for the information. That's new to me. All right. I think we're all set. Anything you want to say inaudibly before we're out of here?
Well, I'm really happy you had me on. No, it was a good episode. I hope the parts that people could hear went really well, and next time will be so much better because you'll hear more.
Shut up, faggot.
All right. Esoterica Unbound adds one here. Let's get that. I guess it takes a second to hang out in internet. I saw it pop up on the screen, but now it's not popping up for me through my system. So I guess I have to wait for it to go through the various tubes of the internet until it is readable for me. There we go. I see who wears a kilt to work every day. The woman who brings her lapdog into the office, and of course the gender-bending Zoomers. I don't know what the context is here. I guess it is hard to tell these days, though. Like, every once in a while, you'll see like a Scottish guy or some sort of cultural event where men wear kilts. I don't really know what the rules are about kilts, but I've seen it before. How do you tell these days, though, between kilt or tranny?
Well, that's the left tries to make that argument, like, oh, it's not gay because kilt people in the Middle Ages did it, and also Kurt Cobain, and it's like it's different, and also it was gay when Kurt
Cobain was a kilt guy.
Well, didn't he wear it? There was one of their talking points at one point. Maybe it wasn't it was some feminine looking thing that was still gay. Regardless.
And he had long hair. It was really confusing. Whatever it was.
Very.
Right. Yeah. All right. I think we're all set. Anyway, joke aside, anything else you want to mention before we're out of here?
Let's see. Matt P., there was a super chat before the one that Matt just read.
Okay. Which one?
Let's wait on him to answer.
Super
What's
chat.
the delay on us?
Not long.
Was he wrong?
It might be a max of like 15, 20 seconds.
Oh, no, I don't think there is one.
Okay.
I'm probably wrong somehow, but anyway.
And people can't hear you even if you are, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to call it there. Appreciate everybody for hanging out with us as always this evening. Appreciate the live chatters and the super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to my guest, Liberty Doll. Find her links in the description. Thanks to Matt Palumbo for sitting in. His new book on Alex Soros, The Air, is available for pre-order now, linked in the description. Thanks to producer Tim for his continued assistance. If you'd like to find more to listen to, check out the podcast page of my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/podcasts. You can find not just the video show, but the audio show too, if you prefer audio podcast listening. Anything else show-related, mattchristiansenmedia.com is where you find it, or mattis.gay if you prefer brevity. I'm back on Wednesday and Sunday nights. Hope to see you then. Have a great night and a great week.